Hey there, everyone. This is Elisa from the Dr. Elisa Show. And as you can, hi, this is my first time doing this. So if it's a little weird, excuse me. This is Elisa from the Dr. Elisa Show. And as you can tell, I'm in my home studio and not at the radio station. Please feel free to comment or chat down below if you want. Should be able to see a few if you do that. So here's what happened. I'm in Denver. I had over a foot of heavy wet snow in my driveway, and it took me about an hour to dig that out. And meanwhile, Henry at his end had heavy wet snow, and he couldn't make it to the studio, and I couldn't make it to the studio. So on the radio station, KUHS Denver, the stream, he is doing a replay. And I am here live wondering if anyone is out there. So I'm going to text a couple of you and say, can you see, can you go on Facebook and check and see if anybody can hear me out there? Please let me know. If the Facebook Live is working, please let me know that. Just post in Facebook or text me if you're a client that, yeah, you know I'm live on Facebook. And thank you. So I'm not going to do a full hour with the show, but what I am just going to do, and let's see, is talk to you about the Coyote Wild readings that I've been talking about doing. So it's December 29th, and we're almost in a new year. And Mercury, the planet that is sometimes called the trickster, has gone retrograde. And we've all been taught somehow that retrograde is bad and scary, and your computer might break or something. And yeah, your computer might be weird, but honestly, my computer's been weird, and today it's working just fine. And that's the trickster element of Mercury. So when it goes retrograde, it is time to rethink, renew, resolve, reflect, all those words, right? And sometimes it's the resolve something. So, for example, if you've been looking for a house, trying to buy a house, often you'll find it during a retrograde. So you don't want to start new things, but often things come to fruition. And that's kind of cool. But it's a trickster, right? And so you have to be just a little careful about what comes to fruition. What did you actually ask for? And I think that's an interesting time because we're coming into a new year, which psychologically, for a lot of people, is a big change. I want to mention we're coming into a new year on one calendar, right? The Gregorian calendar, the calendar that Americans use. But there's dozens of calendars out there. So on the Jewish calendar, New Year's was way back in September. And so there's nothing significant about the numbers of the days on this calendar connected to the universe, except probably in relationship to the beginning of this calendar, which is a Christian calendar related to the decided date of the birth of Jesus. That's what this calendar is based on. So, when you see something like, oh my gosh, it's 12/12, that's a portal day. Well, only on this calendar. But go ahead and use this calendar if that works for you emotionally. So yeah, on this calendar, we're coming into a new year. And we're starting it with a retrograde, which I think is so profoundly powerful. Why? Well, because it's making us slow down. We, burst into 2020 like, yeah, it's a new year, we're in charge, and boom, COVID. We're like, okay, 2021, no COVID. 2022, just get back to normal. And oh my God, the crazy elections and the crazy politics and the crazy blah, 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 blah. We're being asked by Coyote to be more reflective, to take a moment to review And before we renew, before we start again, we got to subtract, right? We got to look at what we need to resolve from our past and what we need to let go of. I can't think of a good word for that. Okay, is anyone out there? Are you chatting at all in Facebook? I don't see any comments. Any one comment would let me know that somebody's out there, okay? Listening to me. So if not, I'm just prattling on. But if you're out there and if you're listening on the Dr. Elisa On the Loose website, please let me know. Oh, I got a viewer. That's exciting. Okay. If you can, this is kind of fun. If you would chat with me, it'd be fun. So the reason I wanted to do this is not only to talk, but to let you know that today would have been my last radio show on KUHS Denver. Why? I've been doing it for 3 years. I had amazing guests. If you missed it, you can go back to YouTube and you can watch the old ones. I had Tiffany Schlein on. I had Jeff Walker on. I had people whose books were amazing and incredible and fantastic guests, and I thank each of them. And I actually offered every one of them actually a free astrology reading, and some of them even took me up on that. So I had great guests. We had interesting information. It was really, really fun. But it's been 3 years, and I decided that 3 years was a good run on that station. Can't say anything bad about any of that experience. I feel like I became a professional interviewer, a professional conversationalist, that I could interview anybody. And I hope you agree. I hope if you watched the show at all that you saw me grow in that way. You saw me grow as an interviewer and as a somebody who could guide somebody to kind of give up information that maybe we wouldn't have heard from them. So today would have been my final show. I was going to do some Coyote Wild readings live, and so I can't get to the station, so I'm going to be here. If you like this, then, I can do Facebook Lives on a fairly regular basis and do some live readings for you and keep you posted on what's going on. So thank you for everyone who watched. Many of you have now messaged me and said, oh my gosh, I really enjoyed your show. Okay, that's great. I'm so glad. Thank you for that feedback. Where will you be able to find me? Just so you know, my blog, elisarobin.com. If you go to my website, I post my blog there. If you sign up, I'll just email it to you. And it says I have comments, and I'm hoping to see them here. I'm not really seeing them, but okay. It says I have a comment. I'm not really sure how that should work. Okay. When you're trying to do this for the first time, it's like, okay, this is just really fascinating. So thank you, Henry. I am coming through. Awesome. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about today. So thank you. Keep listening to the station. It's great, and there's great shows on it. And I'm going to be asking you then to listen to read my blog. You can do that on my website. You also can go to medium.com. I post them there. You can read them there or sign up to receive them there. I'm also on TikTok, like little 15-second blurbs, which then I post on Instagram, and then they end up on Facebook. And I'm really writing more than I'm doing anything right now. However, I definitely have my one-on-ones, and that has grown. I'm doing a ton of one-on-one professional mentoring using astrology and my skills as a professional mentor. After all those years of being an academic dean, my PhD in psych, my 2 master's degrees, all of that stuff. So I invite you to stay connected to me. And if occasionally you'd like to hear something about astrology, about Coyote Wild, I'll be doing some Facebook Lives, I think. This is my first one, so let's see how it goes. Not replacing the radio with this, but just wanting to experiment with new ways of connecting to people. Okay, so what is Coyote Wild about? Let's do this. Mercury is retrograde starting today in Capricorn. Okay, so what can you do, and how do you do it? What for me, what a Coyote Wild reading is looking at where Mercury is in your chart, not your Mercury in your natal chart, but Mercury in the sky in Capricorn. Where is that landing in your chart? What house? And that house will tell us where this is playing out. And what's it next to? Do you have something in Capricorn? Do you have something square or opposing Capricorn? Where is Coyote hanging out in your chart and being a bit wild? Why is this important? Well, instead of panicking about a Mercury retrograde, you get to use this energy because the chart is never out to get you. And this is a very different way of thinking about the universe. So much of what we think about karma and the universe is some sort of, I don't know, like modern, not very helpful way of thinking about life. Life is not about punishment and healing. I mean, that's like not, we didn't come here to be punished or healed, period. That's it. Came here to grow and experience and live. And, you know, there are natural consequences. That's not punishment. There's just natural consequences to certain choices. What Mercury comes here to do in a retrograde is to make us slow down in that place in our chart. If it's in your third house, maybe it's time to listen instead of speak. Maybe it's time to rethink how you write. Maybe it's time to rewrite whatever you're working on. If it's in your 10th house, maybe it's time to reflect on your reputation or your career, or do you feel trapped by by whatever that social network group you're stuck in? Not that would be the 11th house, but the 10th house is more like being part of a corporation or a very prominent family, let's say. So are you tired of that? Wherever Mercury is, it's Coyote whistling to you. And when Coyote whistles, when Coyote goes wild, Coyote is saying to us, what? Can I pull you off track? Can I take you back to your south node? Because it's not what you're supposed to be doing. There's strength things you've learned in your south node, but don't keep just using it. Go to your north node, and everything in your chart is pushing you. All of these transits, everything is helping you prepare to move and embrace your north node, which is your soul's craving. So a Coyote Wild reading for me, a session, is where's Mercury and how is it affecting your north and your south nodes. I can give you some examples, okay? So my north node is actually in Capricorn, in my second house, Mercury retrograde. It'll go back over it. What does that mean? Second house is around money. It's also about security. It's also about resources. It's about stuff. What stuff do I have that maybe I'd like to relocate? Right? You know, like from my closet to your closet. What would I like to relocate? How am I rethinking money? How am I rethinking what I do, right? Okay, I mean, all of those things could come up. Is it square anything in my chart? No, it's not. Oh, but you know what? I also have a Chiron in Capricorn. I have a sensitivity. You see, you start to just play these things out and know that in some way your north node will be highlighted. So I'm trying to see here. Okay, it looks like a few of you are. This is great. I can't for some reason see comments, and I have no idea why that is. I can definitely see that there are comments. Oh, there they are. Yes, now I can see comments. Okay, thank you, Norella. Thank you, Dalea. This is great. It's working. You know, when technology works, we're all like, yes, especially under a Mercury retrograde. Technology worked. This is incredible. Especially since my desktop here has not been talking to the internet for a very long time. And I finally, we've come to an agreement on how desktop computers should work. So a Coyote Wild reading or session then is just that. And what I've learned is sometimes we really want predictions. This is what humans want, right? I want to know what's going to happen. But What's really more helpful is guidance. And what I would love is like a sticky note that comes from somewhere that says, turn left or turn right or go forward or, read this book, anything. Because I feel like we come here with so little information about how to live, how to grow, how to actually be in this world, right? And I know I've said this before, but the astrological chart, that's our guidebook. Imagine that before you were born, you were hanging out with some guardian angel or somebody, whatever, right? The universe. And you said, I want to reincarnate. I want to go down there. I want to get into a body and I want to do this stuff. I don't know how to do it. And I'm going to leave myself a map. And the map, the instruction, right? The guidebook is your astrological chart. How do I know that? First off, I know it works. I've seen this over so many years of doing this work with people. But I got to tell you, it's fascinating to me that Myers-Briggs is based on astrology, Enneagram, based on astrology, that every personality inventory we use in some way, shape, or form to help guide us in our life is based on, that's using archetypes. We can track back to Carl Jung, who sort of birthed this whole notion of archetypes. And he said he would not take a client to work one-on-one with for any kind of therapy if he didn't have their astrological chart. Because he knew that was the base. And this isn't the prediction of, I've had people say to me, oh, so I'm a Scorpio. What are you going to do with that? Well, I'm not going to do anything. I need your entire chart because it's a tapestry. And again, astrology doesn't tell us what to do. We have free will in this world. We have absolutely free choice. It tells us what's the energy you're in and what is a better way to deal with that. So, okay, Coyote Wild. And thank you for the comments and for people who are viewing. This is so fun. Coyote Wild. You know what? I'd love to do a reading for somebody. And if you put your information, who's here? Norella is here and Delea. Norella, do you know your chart at all? Do you know where Capricorn falls in your chart? Let me know. And Delea, I know yours. I think I know yours. That's the funny thing about being upstairs is I have access to things like astrological charts. So if you're one of my clients, why don't you join in and let me know? So, Delea, let me know. Is it okay if I talk about your chart? Just like do a yes or a no. If I don't get a no, I'll do something about your chart. Okay. So I just want to do, and actually, let me do something a little different. Delea, who I would love to have on, but evidently you can't actually have a guest on, or I haven't figured out how to have a guest on. I can't figure out how to have a guest on here. This is just interesting. Without being on the app, the Facebook app, and so I couldn't get that all figured out today. So Delea does these incredible readings. She is what she might call, I'm going to mess this up, but an animal intuitive. And she actually helped me pick out my puppy by looking at pictures of their faces. If you're somebody, probably a woman, just saying, who has an animal, probably a dog, maybe a horse, but absolutely a dog also, but you feel as part of your best friend, your spiritual life, your spiritual journey. Delea does these incredible readings and talks about the relationship between you and your animal, but what the animal's thinking, right? What's the dog thinking? Not the communicator who says their stomach is upset or stuff like that, but what are they thinking? What's their emotional life about? Maybe why did they incarnate? And what we've done are these sort of package readings that we've just put together, and you can contact us about this. And if I could figure out how to get her on live, I would also do that. Where you send her a picture of you and your animal. I have a very large dog, and she has horses and dogs, right? And She will do a reading. You can ask maybe one question, but the reading is about what's the relationship about between you and the animal. And from the animal's point of view, right? Not from your point of view. And what is there to learn about this? So she'll do that little reading. And I will look at your chart and get the Coyote Wild part. Where's the retrograde? What's going on with your north nodes? And by the way, what else might be affecting those north nodes? Where's Pluto? Where's Uranus? Where's Neptune? All that cool stuff. And then we go on Zoom with you for about for half an hour max, and we combine those two things. So she sends you a printout, or not a printout, but a written piece before before we connect. I do it live, and we answer questions, and we use those two and weave them together. And what we found is this amazing thing about where your north node is sending you and some connection to your animal. It's like fantastic. And so if you want a different way to start the year, a different kind of session, not your typical, where's my solar return, what's going on with blah, blah, blah. But something that's a little more fun, because we're gonna have your dog or horse or whatever talk to you about this. Then contact us. Okay, how do you contact us? So you can go to DelayaDiana.com. You can find her on Facebook, True North Equestrians with an S. You can find me, yay, Elisa Robin, here on Facebook, and you can go to my website, and we can set these up for you. And they're really, really fun. So, and then we set them up on Zoom, and we can record it and send it to you. Okay, so that's what we're doing for this sort of new year. If you want something kind of different, something that is just a unique way of starting the year, you can also just work with her. So if you're very connected to your animal and you really want to know why your animal incarnated and picked you, contact her. If you want a Coyote Wild, then contact me. I wanted to say something about synchronicity and how the messages around us get really loud during a retrograde, okay? Really loud. So here's just a couple examples. Delay and I are talking about what are we going to call these readings that we do, this kind of different focus. And I don't know, I came up with Coyote Wild out of nowhere, out of a conversation with her. And that day, and I wasn't sure if it was a good idea. And that day, my honey and I took Ember, my Newfie puppy, and my honey I refer to as Noof, so my two Noofs, to a local park that has a lake on it. I mean, if you live on the East Coast, you'd call this a pond, but it's a Denver lake, small lake, and it was frozen over, and it's this beautiful place. It's high, so you've got this incredible view of the Front Range from there. The mountains were beautiful. The water is frozen over enough for animals, not for humans. And we look out, and there's all these geese out there, and there's two coyotes. And they're hanging out on the ice. And we couldn't figure out if they were actually hunting the geese, because if they are, it didn't look like a very good, sort of strategy, because the geese could see them. We wondered if geese have become immune to coyotes, because everybody puts those, black metal fake coyote things in fields, and it scared the geese for, I don't know, a week, and then that was it. So maybe they were trying to fake out the geese, but they kept wandering around. These were clearly coyotes, trust me. There were two of them. They were being wild coyotes. Coyote Wild. Synchronicity, get the message. I also want to say that one of the things that Mercury asks us to do, thank you, I'm getting some really cool text messages from some of you who are my clients. Thank you, thank you. One of the really cool things that Mercury asks us to do is to look at where we're banging our head against the wall, okay? So what's fascinating to me is we get hooked on some pithy little saying, and we think it's always true. So for example, if at first you don't succeed, try again. It's lovely, right? If you're taking an algebra class and you're trying to learn it, you're right. If you're learning a new sport, it's great. However, there's also something about this isn't for you. It's just not for you. And you've tried and you've tried, you gave it your best effort. It's not that you're quitting, you're changing your mind or you're listening to the message. So, for example, I took at one point motorcycle riding lessons, wanted to see if I liked it. I passed the class, I have an M on my license. I have no desire to get on a motorcycle in Denver traffic. Can I just say that? It's just like, yeah, I did it. And I learned that, yeah, I'm not going to do that. There are sports I've tried. I kayak on a regular basis, but I like kayak because I don't really like whitewater. And I really don't like rafting with lots of other people. Just don't like it. I have permission to not like it. So sometimes it's okay to end something. Sometimes the universe will smack us in the face enough that we realize we're trying to open a closed door. Turn around, look for windows, look for other walls, look where there are no walls. Where did this happen to me recently? I had been writing for the last few years for there's a website where, and I don't want to call it out specifically, where journalists, somebody who's writing an article, can ask for expert writers to give them opinions. And for the last 3 years, I've written for those and been published, where things I've said have been like in Cosmopolitan Online and Time Online. So lots of big publications. The catch is that often the author, who's getting credit for it, they'll put you in there with a link to your website, but they'll never let you know that they actually published. And so you've got to, maybe you get a bunch of hits to your website that day. Maybe something got published. That's kind of cool. But you don't know. And a lot of times you don't even get a thank you. So you're kind of sending it out. Maybe, but it's okay. I was writing. And then about a month ago, I stopped getting the emails coming to my email site. And I contacted the company and they said, oh yeah, it's your email. It doesn't work with your kind of email. I'm an msn.com, which is an old email. And I said, well, it's been working for 3 years. They said, well, okay, we'll see if we can fix it at this end. Try these things at your end. It didn't work. I said, okay, do you have another email? Yeah, I have another email. And I'll use it. So I started using a different email, and I got the requests in, and then I responded, and was told that it couldn't be sent from my email. Like it wouldn't go. It wouldn't recognize it. It wasn't going to work. So I can't get it to my one email. I can get it to my other email, but if I reply from there, it doesn't go. So I forwarded it to my first email and sent it from there and was told I didn't have an account, even though I did have an account. And decided that was enough. I guess I'm done writing for them. Nothing wrong with them. The universe is saying, you're done. Okay. Don't struggle sometimes. Sometimes you are. You're done. It's okay. It's okay to move on and understand that there's so many lovely things to do in the world. What I find often is I get people who want to guilt me. So I haven't skied yet this year. I'm pretty sure I'll ski. But beginning of winter, I'm just trying to deal with adjusting to being cold. And it's a difficult shift for me. And especially when it gets dark outside. I have had people say to me, I can't believe you don't ski anymore. You were a really good skier. What happened? Things change, right? Now I'm not as good a skier because I don't ski very much. And I discover other things I like. I rode horses a ton, and then the opportunity to do it changed, and now I don't. Before COVID, I went to the gym. Now I work out in different ways. It's okay to change. And that is the other message of Mercury the trickster. It's okay to change. In fact, it's important to change. So for those of you who are listening, I want to read a note from Delea, who is in here, but I can't, for whatever reason, I don't know how to get her also speaking. So her message is, it's amazing. You don't know what the reading says until after you've done the astrology. Yeah, right, so I don't know what the reading has said from the animal until after the astrology, and then they reflect each other. It's a really, really fun thing to do. And Delea, what are we charging for these? And put your, how people what are you calling yours? Hers is their gateway reading. So she does this gateway reading, which are these shorter readings with your animal. I do a Coyote Wild reading, and then we mix them. So I don't know, a wild gateway reading. I don't know that we're offering at a reduced price for to get you started in the new year. So I'm so glad some of you are in here. It's hard for me to tell like how many viewers there are and how many of you are out there. But anyone who's been used to seeing me on the radio, thank you for joining. A couple other comments, and then I'm not going to go the full hour. And again, please, KUHS Denver has been so kind to me, and Henry's been wonderful, and their music programs are really incredible. There's a Moody Blues, there's, excuse me, a Dead and Company hour, there's the jazz hour, there's really, really great music. And it's time for me to move on. It's just, right? So again, you don't have to make excuses, and you don't have to explain it. You don't have to justify it. Sometimes you just know. There's other things going on in your life that are taking you in a different direction. And I want to encourage you during this retrograde to slow down and listen to that instead of continually pushing. Now, trust me, there's a time to continually push. My PhD, anyone who's got a PhD out there, you know this, a graduate degree, it's almost like it's designed, especially if you're a woman, to kick you out somehow, to not help you succeed. I don't know what that's about. It's an old style. I have to tell you, when I was working on my PhD, I got into some political troubles, which is not unusual. And my main faculty, got really mad at me, and it was just really stupid. He actually got mad because I had taken a class with him, and my father had passed away 3 days before my wedding at the beginning of that class. And I got a B in that class, and he said, you're not PhD quality if you got a B. And I thought, you jerk, right? I mean, pay attention. So they tried to flunk me out of my PhD. And I made it through. I had to do a lot of jumping through hoops and talking to people, and I mean, it was rough. And I realized that at that point I was up at a restaurant, sitting up at the bar having a glass of wine, trying to figure out how I was going to deal with this. And the bartender came up to me and started talking. Turned out that he used to be the dean of students at UC San Diego. And he said he was published, he was on the speaking circuit, and then at a young age, playing tennis, he had a heart attack and realized the stress of life had just gotten to him. And he talked to me about how so many graduate faculty struggled to get through their PhDs, and that was what they thought the PhD was about. And that instead of it being this incredible exploratory growth experience, it's a maze with pitfalls and landmines and false starts and misleading. I mean, it's crazy. Not every place, not every institution, I have to say, and not every program at every institution. This one was not good. And I kept pushing. That was one of those times where somebody was trying to shove me out and I refused to go. That's different, right? Don't let people shove you out. Now, I've also left jobs where I knew they were going to shove me out and planned ahead to be ready for that to happen, because I knew I also would be done, that it would be okay. So it's about discernment. It's about being very, very clear when it's time to go and when it's time to stay in the fight. And you can't just have a bumper sticker on that. You know, we love those, what is the space movies, right? Where the captain goes, never give up. Like, you know, sometimes you may not give up, but you may change your mind. And that's okay. Just be clear. And that's what Coyote is asking you to do, is to be clear. Okay, so I've done about a half an hour of this, which is really, really fun. What I'd love is if I get some feedback from you, maybe you watch it later. It will be on my webpage. And Thank you for joining me. Oh, it's $97. Okay, let's go back to this. So if you would like one of these wild gateway readings, right? Gateway Wild, whatever. You get the animal. Here's how we do it. So here's how you know. Contact either myself or Delia, and she will need a picture of you and your animal. She's got to see their face and their eye. So you can try to do it together, or do a selfie, or maybe do a selfie and then another one just of your animal. And she's got to have those pictures. And then she does that part of the reading. I need date, time, and place. Time, if you're within a bit, I'm good, right? Like, try to get it close. And I need that so I can run the chart. And then we set up a Zoom with you. And we are not super high tech on this. We do not have a calendar where you go in and you put everything in. But you can contact Leia and go to on Facebook. You can go to True North Equestrians with an S. That's her website. You can find her as Delia Diana. You can find her lots of places, or you can contact me, ask for emails. My email is elisarobin.com. elisarobin@msn.com. My website, Elisa Robin. And $97, and they're really fun. They're really cool. Okay, the sky is bright, bright blue, which is exciting. The snow is melting, which is lovely because the trees have been like bent over and now they're starting to stand up. And it's messy, sloppy on the streets out there. And so I have things to do in this kind of wet, cold winter weather. I hope you enjoyed this. Please give me some feedback at some point and let me know if I should do some more of these. Meanwhile, I hope you had a great holiday, whatever you celebrated. I had a fun Hanukkah. Hopefully you had a lovely Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever, or you're doing Kwanzaa now. And even if it's not your calendar, New Year's is a lovely time to stay in and be together with people that you care about. I also have to say that even if you don't have to go out and get drunk and get crazy, you can just use it as a time to reflect and to think about who you want to be in 2023. I discourage New Year's resolutions because they usually fail and fall apart. I do encourage Coyote Wild readings. I also encourage you to reflect before you start the new year with a renewal. Hey, have a great time. Stay wild. Stay on the loose. Remember, my thing this year has been if you knew you had 1 year to live, what would you do? Well, I'd live on the loose. Bye.